Hi, everybody. I'm Eva Wong Nava. I am the co-founder of Picture Book Matters together with my colleague and friend, Debasmita Dasgupta. I am an ethnic Chinese woman. I am sitting in my study, leaning against a very comfortable cushion. I'm wearing a purple scarf today, coming to talk to you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Smita. I'm the co-founder of the Picture Book Matters along with Eva. I am an Indian origin illustrator and graphic novelist who is based in Windsor in the UK. And I'm sitting in my studio, and from the window, I could see the Windsor Castle straight in front of me. And this is a very colorful room where I work and I create the stories that I want to share with all of you. Hi,
Hi, Smita. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Super good. Very excited today. We're going to talk about a certain book that we both like, right? For today's podcast. So I'm going to let you do the preamble and things that you need to say to our listeners
Yes,
before we
sure.
start.
Let's do with let's start with our usual. So,
Mhm.
welcome everyone. This is the Picture Book Matters podcast. I'm Smita. I'm an artist, graphic novelist, and a film producer. And I have with me Eva Wong Nava, who is the co founder of the Picture Book Matters and the Picture Book Matters podcast. She is an award winning author, an editor, and an art historian. And every month, we come back to you to chat with you through our podcast. We talk about everything related to picture books that matter. And today's episode, like Eva said, is a special one because we thought that why don't we also chat about a particular book instead of just chatting about different things that matter regarding picture books? We also wanted to talk about a particular book. Now, Eva, do you want to introduce that book?
Yes. So this book is quite famous. There you go. It's called The Cafe at the Edge of the Woods. It's been made Waterstone's Book of the Month. And believe it or not, it is a children's book. It is a picture book. And that is why we're going to be talking about it today because Smith and I just both love it so much. Yeah. So, how do we do this, Smita? Do we
I was
so that we
thinking,
give
yeah,
Mhm,
so I was thinking, um, this book, you and I, we also conduct a lot of workshops and courses, right? And
mhm.
when we do the Picture Book Matters courses, we normally talk about a story or just talk about picture books, the making of picture books from both perspectives. Like you talk about the writing part, I talk about the illustrations part. So why don't we follow that similar format so that our listeners, our viewers also get a taster of how it also happens during our courses. So, why don't you start with the writing approach that you usually talk about?
Perfect. So as you can see, listeners, we are off scripts and we're off script all the time, me and Smita. We go with the feel of the class, the vibe of our students that come during the class. So each class or each course obviously is different. And we tend to we of course we have our core things that we talk about, and then we play by ear, we go with the flow with depending on what our students or mentees wants and require. Right. So we're going to do this again the same way. So the cafe at the edge of the woods. You can see it's a catchy title, and we talk about titles a lot when when we talk about the writing part of picture books, because when you have a good title or a title that is a hook, you're already halfway there. You've caught the attention of your readers. And then we say that, as we all know, readers of picture books are actually adults more, more than the children, isn't it? Because adults are the ones that have the power to buy the books, and children sit down and they listen to the story. And that story must really hook the children too. So why is this book so exciting for me? Because the protagonist isn't a child. There are two protagonists here, but I mean, well, one protagonist, one main character, and one secondary character. But actually, in this book, to me, the main character and the secondary character are quite on the same level, I would say, right? And so we look at the world through these two people's eyes, Renee and Glumfoot, right? And as we know, and as I said earlier,
So
there really
just
isn't.
to be
Mhm.
clear, this is Rennie and this
Yes,
is Clumpot.
that's right. And Glumfoot's a little monster. Renee is a human being, right? So Mikey Please really is an animator, a scriptwriter, and I mean he makes films. So when you go through this book, you can see the filmic aspects of the story, right? And as we say to all our participants who come on the course, when you write a picture book story, you have to write it with a lot of action in mind, right?
Mm.
Look at it, write it through through your lens, of course, but your lens is really like a camera. How is the action panning out on the page? And Mikey Please has done that really, really well because he really is an expert in it, I would say. And there's no wonder that this book has, has all the accolades that it's come with. Right? So
Absolutely. I
yeah.
think I completely agree with you. Like, when you're talking about the visual actions, because this is also something that I talk about when I'm talking about the illustration style. And once again, like you said, Mikey Please, he is an award winning animator, he's a filmmaker. So when you look at his illustration style, it's very animated, even if
Mm,
it's a printed book, even if it is a two-dimensional drawing, it still has a lot of movement in it. So
yeah.
you see that, and how do you do it? Because a lot of our participants often ask this question, right? Like, how do I, like, when I talk about including action in the illustration, what does it actually mean? Like, technically, how do you do that? So, how you do it is you could use a whimsical style, like that's what he has actually done. Like the lines are more curved lines, moving lines. There's a brilliant example on this page. Let me just show it to you. Yes, this one. You see the doors, the entire roof. It's all angular. This entire thing could have been just a straight image. But what he has done is he has used the camera lens, which makes it more concave, and that
Hmm.
gives you a more three-dimensional version of that reality that he's trying to create through the visuals. So this whimsical idea, the style that he's used with, quirky lines and not very regular, very structured lines. But actually, I was reading about this in one of his interviews where he mentioned that it all, the illustrations, he did them on paper. And he
Yes.
actually finished, like in the end, he used those hand drawn illustrations instead of those finished line illustrations. So those hand drawn illustrations always, they give you more motion, more texture, more rawness, more purity in the illustrations. And that's what makes this book really, really glorious in terms of its visuals.
Yeah, exactly. And also the story. It is, like you said, whimsical, and I think that the story was inspired by his wife, I think, and their baby, their infant or the toddler child, who probably is a fussy eater. And so without giving away the story, the what the story is, so there is a fussy eater kind of vibe in that story. So even though Glumfoot isn't a child, and we do say that, or make sure that your character is a child, or your main character is a child, um, then we have to kind of correct that and say there are many stories that the characters are not child, right? But they are childlike. They have to be relevant to the child so the child can see that Glumfoot is like them.
Yeah.
He behaves like a child, let's just say, and he messes up all the food, and and there is so much humor in this short story, as well, and that parents can, the adults can kind of appreciate. and maybe it might go over the head of the child. But I think at some point, at a point, and there's a particular page in there that the child can recognize as well, themselves in it, and find the humor in it. So the story is, for me, exceptionally clever, I would say. It's very
Yes.
clever storytelling. Yeah.
Yes, and it's like what we always say, there is this assumption that picture books are only meant for kids. Yes, they are, but picture books are also extremely layered. They're
Yes.
very nuanced, and this is something which happens because children's books are actually created by adults, right? And when I think you and I both agree on this, that when we are writing, we are creating a picture book. Being an adult, we have certain lived experiences, and we are bringing that into the story with our childlike vision, right? So that's why,
Yes.
and this has happened frequently in all our lives, and I'm sure our viewers and listeners will also relate to this, that you may have read a picture book when you were a child, and you did not understand everything that was there. But when you grew up, you revisited that book and you
Yes.
realize there were so many other interesting elements that you missed when you were a child. But as an adult, now you can realize what the author or the artist was actually trying to convey. So that's why picture books are very nuanced, very layered, very textured. And this book, again, is a classic example of that. And when you're talking about the characters, I felt that, of course, I mean, they were very cute and, monster like characters, but very cute monsters.
Yes.
But what I really enjoyed, and this is something again we talk a lot during our classes, is that the expressions,
Mm.
how do you get the attention of your reader? How do you attract their attention? That's through the visual expression, the body, the body movements, the facial expressions that are so crucial in your story. And that's what makes your story also stand out, your characters stand out. Like, if you look at these two characters, look at their eyes, they're just like directly speaking to you, as if they have so much to tell you, so much to share with you. And that's exactly what I feel is the job of a picture book illustrator, because you're not just illustrating a piece of art, you are telling a story, and your
Absolutely.
characters should be storytellers, isn't it?
Yes, definitely agree. So if we look at the eyes of the characters again, on the front page or of the cover, you can see Renee looks kind of stunned, right? She's like that, and little Glumfoot is like, also looks a bit kind of there is that element of being like, oh, surprise in there. There is surprise in their eyes, let's just say, and that's just so cleverly done. And it like you said, it's nuanced, right? And we're not expecting it until we kind of read the book, and then we read the book again, and we see all these threads and all these dots being joined, isn't it? I And with with that, we often also talk about tone, because we as a writer, your words have power, and your words have a kind of your sentences um lead or have a kind of tone in there, right? So the tone of this book is actually quite mischievous. It's funny, as we said, it's humorous, and quite subtly humorous as well. It's not a ha-ha, slapstick kind of humor. It's quite subtle. There's also despair in there,
Mm.
right? We talk about emotions as well in when we write, and emotions got to be quite high and heightened in children's books, because their emotions, you reflect children's emotions, because children's emotions are always quite heightened, more than adults. And there is that there is despair in the book, when or in the story, when things are not working out, right? And then it leads you to turn the page. You want to find out, okay, if this is not working out, how do they solve the problem? Okay, so there is all that. So these kinds of picture books, are what we talk about in our classes. They're called narrative picture books. There is an arc to the story. Because there are also picture books like board books that are, dark, like, dark umbrella, we are teaching children words,
Mm,
which also matter, but there's no narrative in there. There isn't a story in there.
mm.
But it's not to say that you can't make a story with that, right?
Right.
Even at the board book level.
Right. What do you also think about the character dynamics, like the in
Mm.
between, their relationship? What do you have to say about that?
Um, that's a good question. They obviously, Renee and Glumfoot, they found a match. They get along. It starts with Renee, wanting to do something, and she's failing, and then Glumfoot comes along, doesn't he? And then he helps her become who she is, right? And he does this his own way. So there's agency
Yes.
in little Glumfoot. So
Yes.
he doesn't go off and say to Renee, oh, I'm going to do it this way. He lets Renee do his thing. So Renee is Renee. Renee is being her, does all the lovely things, and he takes away the food and he does something to it on his own accord, and voila, all the monsters love it, right? And that makes a success of it. So he does it quietly. So you can see little Glumfoot there with agency, and we talk about, that agency a lot. So there's that dynamics in there where Renee is just being Renee, and the monster, the Glumfoot, is just being Glumfoot, and he finds a way to solve the problem.
Yes. I think this is a very crucial point because, like what you said in the beginning, if Glumfoot is a child, the story actually tells you that the child's voice also matters
Oh,
and the
definitely.
agency of the child, and not just a child voice matters in the sense that only for the decisions that he or she is taking for themselves. It also matters in an adult's life. So here, like what we were discussing, the picture book, this particular one, is so layered, so nuanced. When you look at it very closely, you understand we're also talking about an adult and a child relationship where
Mm.
it's not just the adult always dominating the decisions. It could also
Yes,
be a child, who could influence you or equally participate in that conversation. And I think that is so important, particularly in today's day and age where, we try a lot to safeguard children from a lot of, like you said, the despair,
mm.
the challenges. And again, another very important point that I realized when I was reading it is that Renee, being an adult, she is actually failing. And this
Mm.
is so important for a child to understand that failure is a part of your life. That's
Mm-hmm.
absolutely
Mm-hmm.
fine. And you could do something together to create a better tomorrow. So, this whole idea of failure to success and what success means and what team building means and the agency, the voices matter, I think all of these come together in such a beautiful way of storytelling through Mikey Please. And that's why I think both of us just love this book.
Definitely, definitely. I agree with every point you've made. You've taken the words out of my lips, and that's, which is a good thing. So you can, we can see that we're always on the same page about so many things, about picture books and why we love this craft so much. Um, and it is a craft
It is.
because, yeah, and a craft can be taught, and craft can be learned. And that's exactly what we do at Picture Book Matters on all our courses.
Right.
So yeah, that's what it is.
What do you think about the colors, Eva?
Hmm. Um, there is something about the color palette where the colors are bright, but they're also muted, right? But you're more of the expert on this, and I like to hear what you say about the color palette, because I find all the colors all come together, really gel together really well. But
Yeah.
they're bright, but they're not in your face bright. There is some sort of there is mutedness in the tones as well, where it's very appealing to the eye. right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, so I would like to hear you.
No, I think you're spot on because I also felt that it's bright colors, it's primary colors, but it is muted. It's one notch down to make it more pleasing, more soothing to the eyes. And also, I think I always feel that the color palette will only work very seamlessly with your storytelling if it is in sync with the tone of your story,
Oh, yes.
right? So this one really, and the tone, like the color shades that he has used, the palette that he has used, it has a lot of earthy tones. So,
Mm.
it gives you that feeling of that forest. It literally feels like it's mossy, and, you could smell the grass, you could smell the trees, the barks, which are soaked perhaps in water, and the wood, the old wood. And you could smell all of that. It literally feels like that. So I think those earthy tones, the use of ochre and then green, different shades of green and brown, it really makes it very, very helpful to create the world that the story is trying to create. Like, the forest, for example, the trees, the presence of the trees they're very much part of the story. They're like as if they're also characters in the story. They're
Oh,
not
yeah.
just backdrops, they're not just backgrounds, right? And this is something that we also often speak about in our class, that don't treat your backgrounds or your additional elements, the extras, just as necessary things. They are also integrated in your story, they're part of your
Yeah.
storytelling.
Absolutely. So for the writer's part, where the background is really your backstory. The backstory doesn't I mean, helps you get into the main story. It doesn't, you don't necessarily share with your readers the backstory of your characters.
Hmm.
But every character or every living person has a backstory, right? That influences their decisions in the main story. Let's just say. So this happens a lot of the all the time, actually, in characterization. So so from a writer's perspective, um, going back to the point about backstory and context, that will help you as a writer. And then, so you need to know your characters well. So in our courses, we in the writing part, there are always exercises to help our students get to know who their characters really well, because it's only when you know your characters really well that you can write their story. So you can see Mikey Please knows Renee well and knows Glamfoot really well, right? And there is I mean, you don't know how well, I mean, you know how well, or you can get into the depth of it, but he doesn't go into all the minutiae of, oh, I know Glamfoot's like that. It seeps into his story quite seamlessly.
Hmm.
It's and also that warm tone that you talked about earlier. I felt it too. It's like the wood is hugging them and
Yes.
hugging the readers as they turn the page, right? So there are just all these little details in the restaurant, in that spread that you shared or you showed earlier. There are all these little details that the child's eyes are just soaking in as they listen to the story being read to them, right? So that's the beauty of picture books and why they matter. Because
Yes.
this year is the National Year of Reading,
Yep.
right? And reading isn't just reading about text, reading words. Literacy isn't just words or knowledge of words. Literacy also is visual, right? And picture books help your children or help students or young children um, develop visual literacy,
Yeah.
which is a language of its own, right? And if they couple that with words, you have two sorts of literacies working together in
Yes.
picture books.
Yes, absolutely. I think that is such an important point that we often forget about the importance of visuals because we take seeing for granted, right? Like we
Yeah.
make an effort to read, but
Mm,
seeing is so obvious that we just take it for granted. But every information, the visual information that is coming inside us is making an impact. And influencing our thought process. And we just often ignore that idea. So it is so important to also look at the visual literacy, the visual education part. And I think, like you said, with this National Year of Reading, let's just also understand the importance of visual literacy along with the words, reading of words. And with that, I think we must recommend one more time this book to all our readers, to all our viewers, and just help them understand that this is a fantastic book. It is, I think it's Waterstone's best book of 2025.
Yeah, is Waterstone's book of the year or book of the
Book of
month,
the year.
actually.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So it's quite easily found in
Right.
Waterstones.
I even saw
Yeah.
it in the libraries. So, it's
Yes,
there
you
in
can
some of the
also
libraries. Yeah.
borrow it.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
And he already came up with a second book, which is actually about Clubfoot. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. Real cute. Real cute. Love it.
Yes, yes. So
Yes.
that's also something that we could keep in mind, that when you're creating a world for your characters, it could have a series potential. So
Mm.
the story do not have to end with just one story. I mean, it could be just a one-off story, but it could also be a series kind of a story where the characters can be repeated, or one of the characters from your previous book can be used. So I think the Glumfoot story is kind of a prequel to this book, because it talks about Glumfoot's childhood, right? Why he became
Mm.
the person he is.
Mm.
So yeah, so all those possibilities are always there with your stories. So when you are building a story, you could always keep those things in mind.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Great. So I think with that, let's call it the day for us
Mm.
for
Yes.
this podcast. And we thank again everyone who is listening to us. And if you have read this book, or if you like this book, or you found something else that we didn't talk about in this podcast, feel free to share with us. You can watch this podcast on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. It will also be posted on our Facebook page. And you could also share your comments through our Instagram page. So we would
Yes,
love to hear from you.
definitely. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram because that's where you get all the information if you to keep up to date with what we're doing. And we're going to
Yes,
be doing quite a lot this year. So yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And we can't wait to share all those information with our viewers. So,
definitely.
ciao.
Ciao. See you soon. Bye.